the U.S. government's going to help him do that. It's crazy, right? Crazy. Definitely way too cinematic and conspiratorial and crazy to believe. Until, oops, Trump kind of blurted out that maybe that's what was going on.
Do you have any comment about Bolsonaro's arrest? A former Brazilian president.
So I spoke last night to the gentleman you just referred to, and we're going to be meeting, I believe, in the very near future.
Sir, are you willing about the president being arrested today? What? Any comment about the former Brazilian president being arrested today?
No, I don't know anything about it.
Are you willing to hear Mr. President, are you willing?
I didn't hear. Is that what happened?
Yes, there's a citation.
That's too bad.
Oh, that's too bad. He was arrested. That's Trump, President Trump on Saturday. Pretty clearly seeming to have no idea that Bolsonaro has been arrested overnight. He says, yeah, I spoke to him last night and we're going to be meeting, I believe, in the very near future. Were you planning on going to Brazil, Mr. President?
All right. I need everyone to pay very close attention to what I'm about to tell you, because something is happening right now that could define the rest of Trump's second term, and honestly, maybe the future of American democracy itself. Impeachment is back on the table, and this time, it's landing at the exact same moment that Trump's approval rating is absolutely collapsing. We're talking about new lows. We're talking about numbers that should have every Republican in Congress sweating bullets. And we're talking about a sitting president who just told 6 members of Congress that they committed seditious behavior, punishable by death. Yeah, that happened. And now, Representative Al Green from Texas has announced he's going to file articles of impeachment against Trump before Congress leaves for Christmas. This is happening. This is real. And the timing could not be more explosive. Can you believe this? Let me set the stage for you, because this is one of those moments where everything is coming together at once. You've got Trump out there on Truth Social, calling Democratic lawmakers traitors who deserve to be arrested and put on trial for sedition. You've got Democrats saying his rhetoric is dangerous, that it echoes the same kind of language that led to January 6th. You've got Capitol Police on high alert, and now you've got a congressman saying enough is enough. It's time to impeach. And here's what makes this different from before. Al Green isn't just making noise. He's using something called a privileged resolution. That's a procedural tool that forces the House to vote, even if Republican leadership doesn't want to. They can't just ignore it. They can't just sweep it under the rug. Every single member of Congress is going to have to go on record, yes or no, on whether Trump's behavior is impeachable. And that vote is coming before Christmas. But before we go any further, real quick, let's be honest. You can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built Pump Politics, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, join our free newsletter. We'll send the news straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description to join. And if you just want to support what we're doing, join us. Be part of the community that actually cares about the truth. All right, let's get back to the video.
Because this dude's on house arrest with an ankle monitor. He can't leave home. How are you going to be meeting with him in the very near future? I mean, Bolsonaro, they arrested him like 6 a.m. Saturday morning. He was rearrested for the most far-fetched thing in the world, right? Trying to remove his ankle monitor and apparently, they believe, try to flee the country. And Bolsonaro has come up with a story now that the only reason he took a soldering iron to his ankle monitor is because he said he was hallucinating. He said he was having a nervous breakdown because of a change in his medications recently. And that caused him to start hallucinating on Friday night. And that's what happened. He was basically tripping. And so that's what happened, and he can't be held accountable for his actions. But now here's the president of the United States on Saturday confirming that actually on Friday night, Bolsonaro might have been tripping, but he was talking to President Trump at the time. And they were making plans to be together, in Trump's words, in the very near future. He was under house arrest and about to start a 27-year prison sentence. How are you going to be together in the very near future? I mean, when Trump said that, he must have meant that Bolsonaro was coming to America, right? He definitely could not have done that without breaking off his ankle monitor and fleeing the country and going on the lam. And apparently the president of the United States was like, in on the plan?
So I spoke last night to the gentleman you just referred to, and we're going to be meeting, I believe, in the very near future.
Is that what you thought was going to happen? I mean, in any other presidency, this is like the end, right? This is a show-stopping scandal. A U.S. president who appears to be in on a plan to jailbreak a fugitive former dictator and bring him to America, right? I mean, who knows? Maybe this is all just a big misunderstanding. Maybe it was a different Jair Bolsonaro he was speaking to. I don't know. But with any other president, everything would screech to a halt until this made sense, right? Here, it's just one story today, one more bad news story.
Meanwhile, the polls are absolutely brutal for Trump right now. A new Reuters and Ipsos poll shows his approval rating sinking into the high 30s and low 40s. His disapproval is around 50 to 58%, depending on which poll you look at. Gallup has him hitting a new second-term low of roughly 36 to 41% approval. And here's the kicker. Large numbers of voters are saying that threats to democracy are one of their top concerns heading into the 2026 midterms. So you've got a president threatening lawmakers with death, while voters are saying democracy itself is on the line, while his approval is cratering, while impeachment articles are being filed. This is wild. This is absolutely wild. And I don't think most people understand just how significant this moment really is. Now look, let me be honest with you. Is Trump actually going to be removed from office? Probably not. The House is controlled by Republicans, and they've shown zero willingness to hold him accountable for anything. We've been through this before. Trump was impeached twice in his first term, once for the Ukraine scandal and once for January 6th, and both times the Senate Republicans protected him, so nobody is expecting him to actually be convicted and removed. But that doesn't mean this doesn't matter, because impeachment isn't just about removal. It's about accountability. It's about putting every single lawmaker on record. It's about making them answer the question, do you think it's okay for the president to threaten members of Congress with death? Do you think that's acceptable behavior? Do you think that's what the founders had in mind when they wrote the Constitution? And that question, that vote, is going to follow these lawmakers for the rest of their careers. It's going to be in the history books. And voters are going to remember where they stood. So here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to walk you through everything that's happening. The impeachment push, the polling collapse, Trump's death penalty rhetoric, and what it all means for the 2026 midterms. Because this isn't just one story. This is multiple stories colliding at the same time. And together, they paint a picture of a presidency that's suddenly looking a lot shakier than anyone expected. Trump's second term is on the line. His approval is collapsing, and impeachment pressure is rising. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's really dig into what's happening here, because there's a lot of moving pieces, and most people are only seeing part of the story. Let me connect all the dots for you. First, let's talk about Al Green in these impeachment articles. Al Green is a Democratic congressman from Texas, and he's been pushing to impeach Trump for years. This isn't his first time. He's filed impeachment resolutions before, but this time feels different because of the context. Green announced publicly that articles of impeachment will be filed before the Christmas break, and he's using a privileged motion, which is a fancy way of saying he can force a floor vote whether Republican leadership likes it or not. They have to take it up. They have to vote on it. There's no way to just ignore it and hope it goes away, and Green is describing this as a constitutional duty. He's saying that in the face of Trump's nefarious actions and authoritarian drift, Congress has an obligation to act. Those are his words, nefarious actions and authoritarian drift. That's pretty strong language, and honestly, given what Trump has been saying lately, it's hard to argue he's wrong, because let's talk about what actually triggered all of this. On November 20th, Trump went on Truth Social and absolutely lost it over a video that 6 Democratic lawmakers had released. These were members of Congress with military and intelligence backgrounds, people who actually served in uniform. And in this video, they reminded troops that they have a legal duty to refuse illegal orders. That's it. That's literally all they said. If someone tells you to do something that violates the Constitution, you're supposed to refuse. That's basic military law. That's what every recruit learns. But Trump saw that video, and he called it seditious behavior punishable by death. He said these lawmakers should be arrested and put on trial. He amplified posts from his supporters saying they should be hanged. This is the President of the United States, talking about executing members of Congress because they made a civics video. Come on, are you kidding me? And this isn't just Democrats saying this crossed a line. Even some Republicans have been uncomfortable with this language, because we all remember what happened on January 6th. We remember the gallows outside the Capitol. We remember the mob chanting about hanging Mike Pence. When the president uses this kind of language, when he talks about death penalties for his political opponents, that's not just rhetoric. That's dangerous. That's the kind of thing that gets people hurt. So that's the backdrop for these impeachment articles. Green's existing resolution, House Resolution 537, already accuses Trump of high crimes and misdemeanors. It talks about inciting insurrection on January 6th. It talks about abusing military power. It talks about corrupting the presidency for personal gain. And now, and with this death penalty rhetoric, Green is saying there's even more evidence that Trump is unfit for office. Now here's where this gets really interesting. The polling. Because impeachment is one thing. But what really matters politically is whether voters are paying attention and whether they care. And the answer, based on the latest numbers, is yes. They're paying attention, and they're not happy. The Reuters and Ipsos poll from mid to late November shows Trump's job approval sinking into the high 30s and low 40s. His disapproval is between 50 and 58%. Gallup has him hitting a new second-term low, roughly 36 to 41% approval, and Emerson polling shows similar numbers. This is bad. This is really bad for a president who's less than a year into his second term. And here's the thing that should really worry Republicans. When you ask voters what issues matter most to them heading into 2026, a huge chunk of them say threats to democracy. Not the economy, not immigration. Threats to democracy. That means voters are looking at what Trump is doing, the death penalty rhetoric, the attacks on Congress, the authoritarian behavior, and they're saying this is a problem. This matters to me. I'm going to vote based on this. And that has massive implications for the midterms. Because historically, when a president's approval is this low heading into midterms, his party gets crushed. That's just how it works. Voters use midterm elections to send a message. And right now, the message they seem to be sending is that they don't like what Trump is doing. More voters say they plan to vote to oppose Trump than to support him. That's according to multiple polls. So you've got impeachment pressure rising from the left, you've got approval collapsing across the board, and you've got voters saying democracy is on the line. That's a combustible combination. And Republicans in Congress are going to have to figure out how to navigate it. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. When Al Green forces that impeachment vote, every Republican is going to have to go on record. They're going to have to say, yes, I think Trump's behavior is acceptable, or no, I think it's impeachable. And that vote is going to be used against them. Democrats are going to run ads. They're going to say, this congressman voted to protect a president who threatened to execute lawmakers. They're going to tie every Republican to Trump's worst behavior. And in swing districts, in competitive races, that could be devastating. So, even though Trump probably won't be removed, even though Republicans will probably protect him again, this impeachment vote is going to have real political consequences. It's going to shape the 2026 races. It's going to define how voters see the Republican Party. And it's going to put every lawmaker on record at a moment when Trump's approval is at rock bottom. All right, so let's break this down into the key points you need to understand, because there's a lot happening, and I want to make sure you walk away from this video knowing exactly what's at stake and what comes next. Point number 1, impeachment is a political weapon even when removal is unlikely. Look, we all know the math. Republicans control the House. They're not going to vote to impeach Trump, and even if they did, the Senate wouldn't convict him. We've seen this movie before, but that doesn't mean impeachment doesn't matter, because what Al Green is doing is forcing a vote. He's making every single member of Congress take a position, and in politics, positions matter. Votes follow you forever. When you vote to protect a president who threatened lawmakers with death, that's in your record. That's in the history books. That's in the attack ads your opponent is going to run against you. So, even though Trump won't be removed, this impeachment vote is going to have consequences. It's going to shape how voters see Republicans. It's going to influence the 2026 midterms. And it's going to force lawmakers to answer a very simple question. Is this behavior okay with you? Point number 2. Trump's approval numbers are at a dangerous level for his party. When a president's approval is in the high 30s and low 40s, that's historically very bad news for his party in midterm elections. Voters use midterms to punish presidents they don't like. It's happened over and over again throughout American history. And right now, Trump's numbers are terrible. Disapproval between 50 and 58%. Approval hitting new second-term lows, and voters saying that threats to democracy are a top concern. That last part is crucial, because it means voters are connecting the dots. They're seeing Trump's death penalty rhetoric and his attacks on Congress, and they're saying this is dangerous, this is authoritarian, this matters to me when I vote. That's a huge problem for Republicans, because they've been betting that voters would focus on the economy or immigration, issues where they think they have an advantage. But if voters are focused on democracy, on Trump's behavior, on the chaos coming out of the White House, then Republicans are in trouble. Point number 3, Trump's rhetoric is escalating, and that has real-world consequences. This isn't just about words on social media. When the President of the United States says that members of Congress committed seditious behavior punishable by death, that's not normal political rhetoric. That's the kind of language that inspires violence. We saw it on January 6th. We saw the gallows. We saw the mob. We saw police officers beaten. We saw lawmakers hiding in fear for their lives. And it all started with Trump's words. So when Democrats say this rhetoric is dangerous, when they compare it to the lead up to January 6th, they're not exaggerating. They're describing a pattern that we've seen before. And the fact that Trump keeps escalating, keeps using more extreme language, as keeps talking about death penalties and treason and hanging, that should concern everyone. Because at some point, someone is going to act on those words. Someone is going to take the president literally, and people are going to get hurt. Point number 4, the 2026 midterms are going to be a referendum on all of this. Everything we're talking about, the impeachment, the approval collapse, the death penalty rhetoric, the democracy concerns, it's all going to come to a head in 2026. Every single member of the House is up for re-election. A third of the Senate is on the ballot. And voters are going to have to decide, do we accept this? Is this the kind of presidency we want? Is this the direction we want the country to go? And based on the polling, a lot of voters are saying no. More people say they plan to vote to oppose Trump than to support him. More people say democracy is their top concern. More people disapprove of Trump than approve. That's not a recipe for Republican success in the midterms. That's a recipe for a wave election that flips control of Congress. So where does this leave us? Trump's second term is suddenly looking a lot shakier than it did a few months ago. His approval is collapsing. Impeachment pressure is building. His own rhetoric is becoming more extreme and dangerous. And voters are paying attention. None of this means Trump is going to be removed from office. None of this means Democrats are definitely going to win in 2026. Politics is unpredictable. Things can change. But right now, in this moment, the trajectory is clear. Trump is in trouble. His party is in trouble. And the choices that get made in the next few weeks, the impeachment vote, how Republicans respond, how voters react, could define the rest of this presidency. So, pay attention. Watch what happens with Al Green's impeachment articles. Watch how Republicans vote. Watch Trump's approval numbers. And remember, elections have consequences. The 2026 midterms are coming. And what happens between now and then is going to determine whether American democracy survives this moment, or whether we slide further into something darker. The stakes couldn't be higher. Trump's second term is on the line, and so is the country. I'll see you in the next one.